So we have a number of ECS assessments. Okay, we've had to get out of the habit of calling it the health and safety assessment. So you're all aware of the health, safety, environmental assessment that everybody requires. But we now have all of these as well. Okay, and the reason we've introduced these is so that we can support people through the process of having to have a qualification to have a card. Now in about 2015, maybe before, the Construction Leadership Council said to CSCS, what you're playing at, why are you issuing cards with no qualifications? And you've got to remember our core electrical cards always did have qualifications associated with them, but there were a number of cards that people could get that basically there was one particular type that we used to issue that we stopped a long time ago, I hasten to add, pretty much, well, what do you want it to say? That couldn't carry on. So 2020 was the cut-off, so all cards issued had to have a qualification associated with them. And that's what's behind a lot of the changes and a lot of the grief that we're currently getting. So about these assessments, so the top one, health, safety, environmental assessment, obviously. There are certain cards you would need network infrastructure for, the electrical safety, the FES cards. The top two there are guides on the website. So you have people who need those qualifications, download the free guide, get them to sit them and read through it, and then they can go to the assessment. I remember the actual health, safety, environmental assessment, the whole value of that is that the guy, or person I should say, who's taking the assessment does actually read through the book. And the value of it is they usually sit in the van and test each other. You know, on site, I've got my test tomorrow, oh quick. And that's the value, it's the awareness that's the important thing. So guides available for the top two. You must have training. So if you've got any of your staff that are going through for the electrical safety unit or any of the fire emergency and security system assessments, then you do need to arrange training. The syllabus is on the website. So it is all available to you. And again, we do have to point this out to people. You do also need the health, safety, environmental assessment if you're doing the other assessments, or in some cases, the relevant exemption if there is one, but that is important that people understand that as well. So I do want to cover that off so you were aware of that. So again, you know this already, we had a network starting in about 2002, 2003. We built up a network of ECA Unite and other venues that you could take the health and safety at. It's now available through training providers who are registered with us, I hasten to add. But what we've done more recently is we've introduced what we're calling remote invigilation, or proctoring is its proper term. And this can be brought in for either JIB members directly, people using the employer portal, or even now, really quite recently, someone through their MyECS account. So I'm going to go through these just a little bit. This totally removes the need to travel. Now I have to say, as I've got an industry background, I also went into teaching for a while. And part of the thing that you're drummed into when you do your teacher training is about assessment. And I was totally anti the idea of ceding the vigilation of an assessment to a computer. And I did a total U-turn when I saw what the modern AI can do. It's absolutely phenomenal. Now, I'm not going to go into our security settings and what we make people do, but there is a reason behind everything, trust me. Okay. It's also quite interesting when you're reviewing some of the assessments that have been carried out and what people have tried to do. There was a wonderful one, but bear in mind they're meant to be in a room on their own. I had this manager on the phone to me. It was one of those, okay, right, there you are. And so I reviewed the assessment and I said to her, okay, yes, he might have been in the room where you could see him, but what you can't see is what he was doing behind the monitor, what I can see with the video camera. He failed. Okay, he was cheating. We could clearly see he was cheating. So yeah, the AI is very good. It's quite robust. So it's really worth looking at. And of course, it gives the employer the opportunity to do the assessment with the individual, but also the individual can now do it at home. They can do it in a space where they're comfortable doing it, and that's made a massive difference. And this is becoming very popular now. There are a few things that I will tell you if you're going to use the remote invigilation service. Please follow the instructions precisely, and I do mean to the letter. You know the type of people we get in our industry. You know, it's typical dyspraxia or dyslexic people. It's very interesting when you look at the reports. We used to say, well, about 25% of the population dyspraxic, if I can say the words. Typically, we draw those people into construction, and because of the way their mind works. And these are the people who will look at a drawing and it'll be in 3D in their mind. These are the people who can see ways through and do things. They're not good at academic written language, but they are very good in the 3D world that we actually inhabit and in construction engineering that we need. So it's important we get these people in. But of course, one of the things is written instructions aren't always read, and there are a few people who fail because they haven't followed the instructions. So to do that, there's also instructions for the employer, which we have given full screenshots and information, so you can support your staff in this is what you're going to be doing, and then go away and do it. Okay. There's also some issues with some bigger companies where we have firewall issues or technical issues where the security system is locked down so much, quite rightly in some cases, that actually you can't access our systems. And it's not us, it's you, I'm afraid, I have to say that. There's a number of times where it is actually the security settings of the firewall or the system that's being used physically won't allow the connections that we need to make to have access to the computer to monitor. So for that reason, we are not going to take the face-to-face option away for employers, but it's surprising. Most of people go through without any problem. There are a few issues though. Just chuck that in so you're aware of it. All the details you need, go to our website /RIS. There's quite a lot of these short URLs I'm using. So if you remember RIS on the back of our website, then you've got all the information that you need for that. Just cover off the areas though. JIB members, again, JIB members have access to the face-to-face invigilator assessment. If you don't have it, please make sure you do. Can I just ask JIB members, do you have access to the testing system? Yeah, excellent. I knew that was going to be the answer, but I thought I'd check. Venue manager needs to request that the remote invigilation is available, and then when you're setting an assessment up for somebody, the invigilator you select is either one of your team or the remote, in which case you then have a facility to email out the login details for your delegate. Employer portal users, we've opened this up to the employer portal, so if employers on the employer portal, which of course is our preferred option for the anything ECS, it is a permissions thing. Again, if you've got access to the employer portal, then ask for permission. If you're an employer and you haven't got access to the employer portal, why not? We just need your signature to say you'll comply with the terms and conditions, and then you can have access to assessments as well. Okay. Just a mention about the employer portal. I won't pick on anybody on this one, but just to say, please make sure you keep your employee list up to date. The reason for that, and the only reason I'm saying this, is that you get your member discount for people who are registered against your employer portal account. Okay, so if you don't have your staff registered, you don't get the discount when you're making an application for them. Okay. Conversely, if someone's left your employee, they will still get the benefit of your member discount. So you do need, as part of your offboarding policy, to take people off as an employee of your company on the employer portal. So please make sure you do both ends, onboarding and offboarding. Okay, so My ECS users, so every card holder has a My ECS account, whether they've activated it or not. So again, very simple, free sign up. again, it's important for a number of reasons people use their MyECS account, and the health and safety assessment is now available directly to individuals through their MyECS account. So if you've got someone who's saying, oh, you know, I might consider taking you on, but you do need to have an up-to-date CSCS card. Oh, I need my health and safety, it's going to take me weeks to get. No, log onto your account, get it done tonight, apply for your card. Once we've approved the card, of course, it's then visible through our electronic systems, although the physical card catches up. So it's very, very quick. And I have to say, we have moved on so much from where we were even 5 years ago, let alone when I joined the JIB. You know, the days of most delays and paper issues have gone. Not to say it's perfect, there are issues still, but it's usually around the way things are presented to us and the qualifications. So yeah, thank you. That it's
subcontractors are the biggest, because they used to bring and say, can I come in, they're on a job, but they have to travel, like you say, hours to go and get a test done or lose a day. And I told them about this because you told me, and they booked it there and then. They got it done the next day, and they got a card. And I don't think they all know, so I think it was an exercise where we tell everybody. But it's massive change in this.
It's a massive step change that we've made in our system. So yeah. So thank you. Yeah. Only health and safety available at the moment. And now the reason for that is that we're looking at ways we can introduce the other assessments. But the reason we're doing that at the moment is we don't want people taking the wrong assessment. So we were just holding off saying, okay, you do your health, safety, environmental, but if you need one of the others, they can always ring the office and we can make it available to an individual if necessary. But on the whole, it's just health and safety available through their account. Okay. Again, I just wanted to throw this in there just to make sure everybody's aware. Again, if you're going to share the video, this is probably quite useful. This is something we introduced a couple of years ago at the peak of the coronavirus pandemic. We were having a lot of problems with obviously people not being able to get their health and safety, or had booked it in and it was going to be a period of time they had to wait. So what we would recommend anybody to do is to get their application into us pending their health and safety. And there's a facility. As you go through the checkout, you can submit the application pending the health and safety. Now, whether you have that via the employer or whether you have that directly through MyECS, it is obviously up to the situation that the person is in. But the important thing is that the application can be made and our team can then start working on it. Now, if it's a straight renewal, it probably won't make that much difference apart from we have it. It'll then go on hold, and then when the health and safety pass catches up, the card is then released. Okay. Where this has a major impact is where there's a change in the occupation or the grade, or we have to validate something. Now, we now have electronic validation of most of the certificates. A little spoiler for you, we're going to be going to a point we don't want certificates anymore, we just need the number, because the awarding organisation is going to tell us whether that is a genuine certificate and whether that person has the qualification. So we don't need the paper anymore. Okay, that's where we're going to. So, but there are some checks. So some are instant, like that. So we get straight back from the awarding organisation, yes, this person's got this qualification. But there are other awarding organisations or say IET membership, we physically have to go to them and make a request. They have to physically respond back to us. That can take 2 or 3 days. Most of the delays in processing an application is because we're waiting for customer or we're waiting for customer information. Okay, so if you can imagine, if it's going to take a week, 10 days for us to get a reply back from a validation request that we've put in, then if someone's waiting to, first they've got to get the health and safety, and then they've got to get the application, and they've got to wait for the delay in this. But we can take all that away, get the application in, so we can be working on it. Those validations can be going on. Health and safety comes in a few days later, a week later. It's all pre-approved, it's issued. Okay, it speeds things up a lot. So please use that when you're using the employer portal or people are using the MyECS. Okay, that was an extra. Okay, and the other thing I just want to chuck in there is going back to the remote invigilation assessment. There is quite a lot of help on issues and what can be wrong and how to resolve them. There's a document at this, so online assessment gives you the instructions of what you need. So again, another short URL which is useful to you if it's required. Okay. Brilliant. Any questions on remote invigilation or the assessments before I go on? This is just talking a quick swig of tea while you're thinking about a question. You see, that's really what it is.
Also questions, but more in terms of the qualification criteria.
Yep, should we hold those until we've done this
Yeah,
next bit?
Because
That could be messy. Well, no, because actually, once we get into the reasons why and how and all the rest of it, so we'll see what we can do. Okay. Smart Check app. Has anybody heard of the CSCS Smart Check app yet? Yeah. Brilliant. Roger has. Good. Well, I'm glad you have anyway. That's the main thing. Okay, it's the new CSCS checking system. Now, I'm pleased to say that the JIB, one of our colleagues, Andy Reeks, has been quite instrumental, and the JIB has been heavily involved with CSCS in this development. And the whole thrust behind this was we have all of the cards. I mean, CSCS has had a smart card with a chip in it for, 10 years, Richard? When was the chip put in the CSCS card? 2015? Or was it before that one?
About 10 years ago, they made smart cards
Yeah.
available, although I thought it was old back then, I was telling them they should.
Oh yeah, no, it was old technology when they started it. But anyway, we won't talk about CSCS and their technology profile, which edge of technology they're sitting on. But anyway, it was quite useful that they had all the workforce. We went down a slightly different route with our phone app, and so we don't issue a smart physical piece of plastic. We have a phone app which does pretty much the same thing. And so this is a new way to read all of the 2.1 million CSCS cards out there. And as I mentioned this earlier, so just over 1 million of those are CSCS direct, and the other are split between the 38 card schemes. So your scaffolders, your plumbers, us of course, and so there's quite a number. Okay, so that's what it's about. That's where it all fits in. And I have to say, we actually got the figures through yesterday, and the ECS scheme is the most searched for card scheme behind CSCS, which we're quite proud about. But what do you expect? Electricians always really lead the way. Okay, so this actually complements our systems, so you may be surprised to hear. And it's important that the card holder does actually sign into their MyECS account. They download our smartphone app, because part of the facility on the smartphone app is to draw up a QR code, and the QR code is then scanned by the CSCS app and goes back. Now, why do we do it that way? We don't print a QR code on our cards because ours are dynamic. And by that I mean they change every couple of weeks. And what we wanted to avoid was someone photoshopping a picture of their card and then showing it on their phone and say, oh, I've got an ECS card, look at my picture on my card, because that's what everybody else has got. It doesn't work like that. Okay. So whether it's CSCS Smart Check app or whether it's our own ECS check, which is still valuable, and I'll come on to that in a moment, it's the QR code that needs to be read, because that then takes the person who's checking back to our servers and gets the latest update on the card. Which also means if let's say they've just got their latest edition of the wiring regulations, that immediately is updated on the card, so it's on the electronic card. Equally, if the card's expired or it's been revoked for some reason, it immediately shows on the system. So that's why we force people to go back to our service for the correct information rather than relying on what's already on the phone. Okay, and yeah, so that's really the basis of what's going on there. And again, another little spoiler, we're actually working on our smartphone app. So by hopefully the end of the year, there'll be a new smartphone app, and the features and things that will do will be phenomenal. Over 50% of our customers access our systems on a smartphone, and so we're changing our app. So they literally will be able to complete an application via your smartphone and communicate with us through the smartphone. So this is a phenomenal investment, and it should again make our card much more relevant and easier to handle. So keep a lookout for that, because no doubt that Roger will be telling everybody about it.
On the working group, it's awesome. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Yeah. We got the endorsement before it's even released.
Does it bring the cost of fuel down? Is that what it is? Is it going that far?
Oh dear. Okay, that's all I actually wanted to cover off. Please go to our website. Everything is on our website. Quick tip on our website: go to the website. In the centre at the top, there's a quick help menu. Most of the issues that you'll need to look at are on that quick help menu, rather than trawling around. If you're looking for a card, then top right-hand corner, card types are also listed with the qualifications on there. Information about ECS scheme altogether. My ECS, obviously, I've covered already. The employer portal you know about, so I don't need to cover, but for the sake of the recording, if you're employer, please be using the employer portal because it will make your life a lot easier. And ECS check, I've skirted over that. ECS check is our system. Now, the way this works is either you will find a main contractor or a client will request this, or if you wanted to, you could actually offer it to your client or main contractor. Why, I hear you cry. The whole point of this is to give visibility of the ECS cards of the people working on the customer's site. So whether this comes from the top down, so the client says, well, who is doing the work, or whether you actually want to show going up that, look, we're using fully qualified people and here's the evidence and these are the people who are on your site, you can actually allocate people to a site, give a link to that customer. The customer can then see not only who's on the site, they can click on the person's name and it shows an image of the card. Okay, so the days of people having to photocopy cards and keep them in a file somewhere are gone because we now have an electronic solution. It's getting rolled out quite widely. Another good reason for employers to be using the employer portal, because you need to keep your staff up to date, which I've already mentioned, and this is another good reason for doing it, because everything is then in front of your customer and you can show who's on site and what the qualifications are. So ECS check will be coming through. Again, all the information on our website.